Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome back with some more critique of Outlast by Milo. So last time, I got in a little bit of a debate in the comments um, with Everett regarding how in the last reaction, in my afterthoughts, and I guess in the reaction itself and all, I was complaining about the constant comparisons to, well, between Outlast and Amnesia, and talking about how they were they had very little in common, and everything I was saying about Amnesia, basically. To put long story short, the debate was mainly about whether or not whether or not I knew what I was talking about. Because my entire thing was that Amnesia is atmospheric, and even without the characters and story aspect of it, the actual quality of the horror aspect of the game would be pretty much the same. But that Outlast runs on its characters and story, and that the atmosphere isn't as important. And that was basically what I was trying to say, and we were debating back and forth a little bit on basically whether or not I knew what I was talking about with Amnesia. Because for those who might know, I did play a bit of Amnesia on the channel in the past. But I never finished it for a couple reasons. One of the main ones being I just didn't enjoy the game. I even tried watching with other Let's Players, especially Let's Players I really like, such as Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and all that, and I could not get into the game for the life of me, even with them. So it's just, I just can't get into it. I don't enjoy the game. And there's other reasons, of course, as well, such as the fact that I personally have a hard time playing a lot of horror games because I tend to not be really great with a lot of, active horror. Like, I can't do haunted houses, for example, because it's too much for me to handle, I guess you could say. When I'm taking an active part in the horror, basically, is when it really affects me. If I'm watching someone play a horror game, or if I'm watching a horror movie, it's more of a passive role, I'm fine with that. But if I'm taking an active role, like playing the game myself, or going through a haunted house or something like that, it's too much for me to handle. I don't fully know why that's the case, but it is. And it's not always the case. Like, there's been occasions where I've played horror games that I could get through fine, but I'm just saying for the most part. But yeah, so the debate was mostly centered around that, because that was a big thing about what I was talking about last time. Because Mauler had been making the comparisons and everything consistently in the last videos I had been watching. So, I will just say that I stand on my points and my thoughts on what I said before. I'm not going to start any more debates regarding that. That's in the past at the moment. But I'm just going to say I stand on my opinions and viewpoints based on what I said before. So yeah. But I will say, I do acknowledge that I do not have as much knowledge regarding Amnesia in terms of its story and character content and whatnot. I acknowledge that. At least definitely not as much as I do with Outlast, considering I've played the game myself and seen it played multiple times. So yeah. But either way, I also noted how the last couple videos seem to also be kind of going back on a couple things, especially on some of the progress Mauler had been making in terms of the quality of his analysis, and especially in regards to how he words things, how he like the way he presents it all, basically his presentation. Because in the early parts he was very pompous about it, but then he started getting better, and it started coming across more as like, oh, I'm just sharing my thoughts, my opinions, rather than, oh, this is just how it is and it's objective fact. If you're against that, you're an idiot. That's how the first couple episodes felt, but he got better at that. But the last couple episodes kind of went back into that a little bit, honestly. At least from my perspective, that's how it felt. Um, hopefully he goes back to progressing in that sense. Excuse me. But yeah, we have more to do regarding that. We have 5 more episodes, including what we're going to get to today. And I haven't said what ones we're going to get to today because I don't know for sure as of recording this yet. We might do 1 episode, we might do 2. Hell, we might even do 3. But we're not going to do all 5. I could say that much. But yeah, so I don't know exactly how many we're going to do today. It's just whatever I feel like doing, basically. I am interested to see more of this, though, to hear more of his thoughts, even if I don't agree with them. I talked about in the past how I have trouble sometimes watching reviews and stuff of people whose viewpoints on something are so in opposition to my viewpoints. But I don't know, just being able to talk about it, being able to do a reaction in this way to this, and specifically because of the content he's analyzing, I don't know, it gives me sort of like some kind of investment, you could say, in continuing on, and not really a huge enjoyment necessarily, but enough of one. Either way, we are going to get this started, and hopefully these parts are good and enjoyable and give me enough to talk about. So that being said, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the parts of this video series, because they're not really episodes. But that being said, thank you once again, and for now, I'm Connie, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, the big things in this were definitely sound, AI, and difficulty. I'm not going to talk about the gratuitous stuff as much. I'll just mention right here at the beginning that I think that it was fine. In terms of gratuity or whatnot, I think it was fine. Sound design, I agree with him pretty much entirely. I think the sound and the music and everything is great. It's just not implemented to its best. There's some weird cues that like will break up the music and whatnot, and sometimes it gets a little weird, and sometimes the music will go on a little too long, such as where he showed escaping from Chris Walker in the sewers and all, and the music's still going even while you're safe. The AI, I also agree on. The AI is fucky in this game. It is the biggest issue I have with the game, as I mentioned in the reaction. The AI can and will mess up anytime you play it. Anytime you watch someone play it, it will mess up. And in a lot of ways, in different ways. Sometimes the AI will mess up in one way, sometimes in another way. Sometimes it'll go completely fine in one section. The next time you play through it or see someone play through it, that entire section is completely fucky. And that's, I've seen those kind of glitches with a lot of games, especially Bethesda games, if I'm being honest. And I think that it's definitely an issue, but it doesn't ruin the overall game experience for me, personally. Difficulty, though. Difficulty, like I said, when that first came up, I don't think the game's difficult, but I don't think it's necessarily meant to be. Um, and I'm going to get into atmosphere as well, by the way. The game is not really meant to be hard. It's meant to, again, scare. As he puts it, and I'll get more into that. As he puts it, though, as Mauler says, that's what Outlast is about the scare. And it's not really meant to give you a challenge, except in, of course, the insane difficulty, which is, as he put it, just plain stupid, because it just does things really wrong and just makes it too, like, pretty much impossible to the point where you'd have to memorize every little thing. I've never played on that difficulty because, as I've said in the past, I'm not like the best at games, so I never play on those higher difficulties. So yeah, I never would have known that. I didn't even know what the insane difficulty really entailed. I think the only game I played on the hardest difficulty on was Skyrim, if I'm being honest. Um, Most games I just don't do that. So I didn't even know about, like, again, what the insane difficulty entailed. I haven't even seen anybody else play on it. At least not that I know of. But either way, atmosphere now. So he also talked about atmosphere, and this was a part where he was comparing it to Amnesia, and for good reason. As I mentioned before, Amnesia is an atmospheric game. It is what it does, and what it does really well. And Mauler even said that in one of these two parts. I don't remember exactly which one, but he said Amnesia is about atmosphere, while Outlast is about scares. And that's true. Amnesia is an atmospheric horror game. That is literally what it is built upon. The atmosphere is the focus of that game. It is how the frightening aspect of the game is delivered to you. That's the entire point. And again, Outlast is built on scares. It's not trying to be atmospheric. It's trying to be scary. It's trying to be intense and harsh. And I think it does well at that. In terms of the game's atmosphere, in terms of Outlast's atmosphere, it's like it does what I feel it needs to. There are a couple points where, yeah, a little more atmospheric sound design stuff would have been great. And there are some points where it just isn't as good as it seems to think it is. Sure. But overall, I think that the atmosphere is what it needs to be for Outlast because, again, it doesn't focus on that. It's about the scares themselves. And I personally think that's fine. I personally think it works for the game. So, yeah, I think I said everything else I really needed to during the reaction and all. Unlike last time, there's not really like this huge amount to talk about with these two. These were wrapping up the analysis of the main game. So next time we will be moving on to the Whistleblower DLC for the final 3 parts. I don't know when I'm going to get to them. Possibly this week, but no guarantees. If not, I'll get to them next week, and I am going to do the final 3 episodes all in one video. Just because I feel like doing 2 episodes and then leaving 1 at the end, it's just, I'm just going to do all 3 together. And that will finish off this series. Yeah, I do, like I said in my pre-thoughts, enjoy this to a point. I having, you could kind of say, fun, giving my thoughts on everything he's saying and whatnot. And overall, I think that it's just interesting. And one thing, going back to things I said in the pre-thoughts, he very much dialed it back in this one. I mentioned how in the last couple episodes, the last couple parts of the series, he was kind of backtracking in the progress he had made on how he was presenting his opinions and thoughts and how he was really coming across. Like I said at the beginning of the series, he was very snobby and pompous about it all. But then he started to dial it back. But then in the past couple episodes, he brought it back up again. Well, he dialed it back again. These 2 episodes, he was very good with that. He handled it and presented it very well. Never felt like he was trying to force an opinion on you, rather that he was just sharing an opinion. In fact, I think there were straight up a couple parts where he just said, yeah, this is just how I feel. If it didn't bother you, cool. I think that's a simplification of what he said, obviously, but still. And that's cool. That's good. That's what it should be. I like it when reviewers and analysts say that kind of stuff. It's like, this is all just my viewpoint on it. If it doesn't bother you, if it's not an issue to you, then cool. That's great. And because that is what analysis and review is. It's sharing your personal viewpoints and opinions on in this case, video game. Or it can be a movie, a cartoon, etc., etc. It is all subjective. And it's like, it's good when the reviewers and analysts acknowledge that, rather than try to like force this idea like, oh, I'm right and you're an idiot if you think otherwise. I hate it when reviewers and analysts say stuff like that, or not necessarily saying it directly, but implying it with what they're saying and how they're saying it. But overall, yeah, I have been enjoying this series overall. And it's definitely something I'm glad I watched, even if I do disagree with most of what he's had to say. It is something that definitely got me interested. And maybe in the future, I can check out more of Mallor's work. I mean, hey, if you want to suggest any of his future stuff for donations, Everett, feel free. But yeah, so we have 3 more episodes for the Outlast critique. And again, that'll be done in the next video for this. It'll be episodes 9, 10, and 11, and it will all be on Whistleblower. Before I go, I'm just going to give quick thoughts, my quick general thoughts on Whistleblower as compared to the main game. I think that Whistleblower did a couple things better than the main game in terms of its entertainment value. And obviously I'll talk about that more when we get into the next set of videos. But at the same time, I also felt like it was extremely lacking compared to the main game in terms of, well, scares. Except there are 2 parts. I won't tell you what they are quite yet, but there are 2 parts in in Whistleblower that are insanely more scary than anything in the main game. And that, in my opinion, are the best parts of all of the Outlast franchise. So look forward to hearing my thoughts on that stuff when we get to it. Again, probably next week, I'll say. I can't guarantee that for sure. I might get to it this week. You never know. We'll just kind of have to see. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles,